Welcome back to another episode of Marvel News Desk, your best place to keep up with all the latest news, reviews, and speculation concerning Marvel films and TV shows. Our panel today is our usual crew. We've got Adam, and we've got Rhiannon.
Hey guys, you can find me on Twitter as Brooklyn Wallace at Shot of Patron.
And I'm Caleb. You can find me at Caleb A. Borchers. We want to encourage you guys to subscribe to us on YouTube. That's watch.marvelnewsdesk.com. We put up a Captain Marvel trailer reaction video just yesterday. And then we've got a gifted video that should hit by the time this podcast releases. Rhiannon, do you want to introduce the folks to our new video contributor with this gifted video?
Our video contributor is Sarah, and she is a huge fan of The Gifted and Runaways, and she put together, so for The Gifted, she put together a nice little video sort of digging into the Lorna Dane character, and it's kind of a look back at her emotional journey in the first season and places she may go in the second season. We'll have that up this weekend.
We also want to encourage you guys to check out the second podcast in our Marvel News Desk family. That's called AP Marvel. This week's episode is going to be all about Iron Fist. Chris Compendio, who runs that podcast, has also been writing for that a little bit on the site. So definitely check out all that stuff. Rhiannon, before we get into the news, do you want to tell folks about our New York Comic-Con get-together? I think it's only like 2 weeks away now, so we should give some details on that.
Do you want me to talk about it right now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
that was me in show mode, not just like, hey, let's do this in a second. Yeah.
Okay, guys. So New York Comic-Con, we are very excited. We are going to have a little meet and greet. We have the lounge area at the Bourbon Street Bar and Grill. And it's on 49th Street, I think between 7th and 8th. We'll put up a little Facebook event page so that you can look at the details. Let us know if you're coming. I mean, we have no idea if there's going to be like 3 people there, if there's going to be 30 people there. If there's 300 people there, we are screwed, but there's plenty of overflow room into the bar there. We'll have a little bit of some food there, and then there's a bar and everything. I stopped by for those that hung out with us at New York Comic Con last year. It will not be as loud as that other bar. Caleb, I think you missed the night where we all sat around as a bunch of old people going, "That music's too loud."
Yeah, I did. I missed that on that altogether.
It was a lot of fun, and the music was too loud. This place, it's funny, I went by last week just because I wanted to see if it was incredibly loud, and they were very funny. They were like, "We can turn the music off for you." And I was like, "It's okay." So anyways, we would love to meet you if you want to come meet us. Obviously you don't need a New York Comic Con badge or anything to come by. So it'll be Friday of Comic Con, 6 to 8 p.m. Because I have to go get a little bit of sleep before getting the Daredevil line the next morning. So we would love to meet you. We would love to meet your friends. Come on out.
Yeah, if you're coming to Comic-Con, or if you're live in New York, New Jersey, anywhere close to Manhattan, come by. I know we're going to be there. I think Chris Compendio from AP Marvel is probably going to be there.
Yes.
And Michael T. Ford, I think, should be there. And I'm guessing that Shelby will be with you, but I don't know. So
yes,
those are people you probably heard of on this show, and we will be there, and we'll love to have you come. So
yeah, I think Michael T. Ford's going to be able to stop in. Shelby, there's some other folks, like if on Twitter you follow, there's like Daredevil Room. The person behind that account is probably going to be there. And I don't know, I might just if none of you say you're coming, I might just, dig up some more friends and try to get them to come out. So let us know you're coming.
Well, I was telling Rhiannon a little bit earlier, we actually have content today, guys. After a few weeks of very sparse Marvelness, this week there is a ton to talk about, so I'm ready to jump in. Deadline has just announced this within the hours of us recording this. ABC has done a production commitment for a new show that's going to be run by Alan Heinberg. He was a writer for Wonder Woman, and that show is going to I lost myself for a second. The main topic for today's discussion is going to be all this Disney streaming stuff. So if you're looking for that in the news, we're going to do as the main discussion. We're going to get there. But before that, for just the news, Deadline, ABC production commitment, Alan Heinberg. The show's going to be about some random female characters, they say. It's going to be for ABC. Adam, I've been racking my brain. Do you have any guesses about who the show could possibly be about?
It's probably a huge nothing burger. I mean, this isn't our first rodeo, is it?
No, it's not.
I feel like there's been a female series at ABC in the works, because we had that other story about a female-led series that we thought might be She-Hulk or something, but this says like multiple lesser-known women.
So we're talking like Black Cat and Silver Sable, or what?
I mean, I was going through my list, and I was like, already used, too important, owned by Sony. I mean, we did have that story, I think you're talking about Rhiannon, where they said there was a Jessica Jones-esque show?
Right.
That they were going to do, but like, I was looking through this. I have very, very little that I can even think of. Like, the only things that have come to my mind, I think White Tiger could potentially be a character that'd be small enough they would let ABC use. And I don't think she's coming to Netflix because they've had the opportunities to bring her. And, you know, like Daughters of the Dragon and Hellcat to me are like, should get the option first for that, you know? The only other thing I thought of was like I mean, this would be terrible. Like a Chicks of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, like they get like Mockingbird and Maria Hill, and they just have like women S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. They're on an all female team, but I really can't think of anything that this could possibly be.
Right now, I want it to be the Mary Walker show, where it's just like all of Mary's alters. They call it a group of lesser known women, but
because even the language of, you know, a production commitment. Didn't we have that kind of language about the Damage Control, right? Like that was a show that we were told had a put commitment and then never happened. New Warriors we were told was definitely, and it hasn't. Like at this point, ABC feels a bit like Warner Brothers telling us that a DC movie's coming. We're like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, the timing's a little bit suspicious as well with the revelations made last night. I mean,
hey, we're still over here.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I don't know. John Ridley still has a project somewhere out there. There's Jessica Jones knockoff out there somewhere. Yeah, it'd be crazy to go back and see how many times they've actually. I mean, this is the 5th or 6th time they've announced something's in the works, right? And I mean, both the Wrap and Deadline both had this, so it must be a widely known thing.
For those of you that are not on the video, Adam just looked out his door as if a serial killer was about to enter the room. I was worried that he was going to get taken out.
No, it's just started. No, it's just started like it's raining like a cow pissing on a flat rock. It's just out of nowhere. But yeah, I mean, I'm not confident in anything at this point. I mean, we'll get into it later, kind of expanding off this stuff, but it doesn't look too good for Marvel TV. That's my opinion, at least. My 2 cents. Absolutely.
And like you said, we will get into that. I think Jeff Loeb is having a very interesting day, so...
Yeah.
All right. The next bit of news we had, the Russo brothers put out a tweet. There was a picture of, I can never remember which one's which. I think it was Joe or Anthony. It's got to be one of them. Joe sitting in a chair on a set, and it just said, "Look hard." And the internet is going crazy trying to figure out what we're supposed to be looking at in this this picture. There was I mean, it's just a set. It looks empty. people are taking the frame of the ladder and saying that it's an A and another A for an easel, and it means the movie's gonna be called Avengers Assemble. They're like doing high def like color like brightness changes to try to find words scrawled on the side. Somebody noticed that the ventilation has X's patterns in it. They think it means X-Men. Rhiannon, you followed this rabbit hole a little bit in the last half hour.
Oh,
Are you seeing anything of value in this image?
They said look hard. There's some stuff in it that looks... yeah. There's a little thing down here that looks like a little rag on the ground that I think looks like a little dead baby group. There's the bottle of liquor. Thank you to whoever did that color correction thing and made it all nice and light. I haven't found anything. I don't even recognize the Russo brothers enough. I thought maybe this was a shot of the back of Benedict Cumberbatch. So I don't know. I don't know yet. I don't think we're supposed to know. I think if you could really truly see something and figure it out, they wouldn't post it.
I mean, the thing that does make sense is that the name Avengers Assemble. Because that kind of ties in with that Avengers Forever they said was awfully close to the name, I guess.
And they did say it would be disappointing when we found out what it really was.
Oh, wait, that's Wolverine in the background. You're right.
Right?
The X's in the ventilation, every single, like, HVAC ventilation thing on Earth looks like that. Give me a break with the X-Men stuff. Come on, guys.
I have heard, apparently a lot of people think it can't be called Avengers Assemble because in the United Kingdom, that was the title for the first Avengers movie. Like, it was released in theaters as Avengers Assemble. And so all the British people are like, no, they can't name it that because what would we call it here? Like, they make the decisions based on just the United Kingdom. Sure. Nice try, guys.
Well, everybody's coming back from dust, so maybe it'll be Avengers Reassemble.
I'm curious to know what time of day was this picture taken, because why is there that ginormous bottle of booze on the table? It looks probably a vodka. I mean, Joe is a liquor connoisseur. He just has his restaurant opening up, and there was a nice little profile about his hobby. He is also an alum of the University of Iowa, which is one of the biggest party schools in the United States. FYI.
Speaking of his restaurant, Adam, I heard that they had a big event at the restaurant and Taika Waititi showed up, and it's proof that Korg is coming back.
Give me a break. Give me a break. I mean, you have to admit, that's something. It just, that group of people in that shot was way too random to be random, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So... It's actually in our news. I wasn't just busting your chops. Like, do you want to explain more about that news story?
Joe, I'm not sure if his brother's involved or not, but at least Joe and actually Joel McHale opened up a restaurant in Los Angeles called Simone. And they got a James Beard winning chef, and they hired this dude from Scotland that's apparently the best booze guy ever. I don't know if he's like a bartender. He's not a bartender. I just insulted him probably. But they opened it up and they had...
Mixologist.
Yeah, mixologist. That's like a sandwich artist, right? They had like a soft opening or whatever, and so Russo was there, Taika was there, Kev was there, Chris Evans, Don Cheadle, and then like the D-list Guardians like Pom Klementieff and Karen Gillan. Scarlett Johansson was there.
And then the cast of Community, right?
Oh, is it Yvette? Nicole Brown? She was there. But, I mean, see, that does make sense because the bald white dude was in Civil War, right? And they've had all their Community cameos.
And Daniel Putty was in Winter Soldier.
So, and Donald Glover, we can count that. That wasn't more than a cameo. It was essentially a glorified cameo. But that wasn't really a Russo film. I don't know. Yeah, it just kind of seemed like a weird assortment just to be like a chance gathering. Now, I'm not sure I know their friendships and all that stuff, but I guess I just didn't picture that when Joe Russo has a party, the first person he calls is Pom and Karen Gillan, you know?
Or Taika Waititi, for that matter. Like, they work together a little bit, but it's not like they're best buddies.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be real. I mean, Korg got away, and Feige himself said Korg and Meek, they have plans for Korg and Meek. So it makes sense that... I mean, Tessa Thompson's in Avengers 4, right? Or don't we know that?
So this was kind of the question I wanted to like launch off of this. There were people who were not in Infinity War, and we all kind of gave it a pass because we knew that there's going to be an Avengers 4 and some of them are going to appear. So like Hawkeye, Ant-Man, Wasp, those were characters that weren't there, but we're like, oh, they'll be in the next one. Are there any characters who've not appeared yet in Infinity War that you are going to be like really hacked off if they don't get to be part of either of the two movies? Like, who's on the list for Avengers 4 that really has to be there for it to feel like a full culmination of the universe for you?
That's a good question.
Daredevil.
Okay.
Well, you're going to be hacked off then. Who was it? Was it Batista or Tom Holland or someone said that there was that one scene with 65 people, right? That was the number? I mean, was that an exaggeration or I mean, we didn't get that kind of group money shot in Infinity War. So if we go through Avengers 4 and we don't get like kind of like that class photo-esque type shot, I mean, what the hell's going on? I mean, if there's not like that with not literally everybody, but I mean, even down to Korg, I mean, you'd think that that's kind of at least something they would send off some of this cast with, I certainly think they are missing something, given that they introduced a character like Valkyrie or a character like Wasp. To not have them in this movie to help launch to the future makes it very much a retrospective movie without making it a future launching movie. And I think they want Avengers 4 to be both of those things. I agree that there needs to be one of these money shots, and we know that they know it's important because they made a fake one for the trailer. Right? That poster, right. The one we had of like Hulk, in Wakanda, like we know that they know that we want it. And so it just would seem impossible to me that we're not going to have a major, and frankly, it's going to be after an undone snap. There's no way that the group shot is going to not include Black Panther or Spider-Man or Doctor Strange or those characters,
Right. I mean, the only person it probably won't include is Drax anyways, right?
Yeah, he might be gone.
I mean, yeah.
Drax and Daredevil.
And Shao Lao the Undying.
That would be the ultimate just middle finger, as if Feige did throw a dragon in somehow.
Yeah, and like even it was like just a montage of like all the different people dying somewhere, and you just see like Shao Lao in his cave, and then he turns to dust. Just to be like, well, we had the budget for it. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
Like red eyes, and then they materialize into a dragon, and then it dusts. That would be awesome. Call us, Feige.
All right. Next bit of news I've got. Venom is supposed to be opening up to a $65 million weekend. That's what the early tracking is saying, which would make it the highest grossing October release in the history of cinema. Rhiannon, does this seem overly optimistic to you, or do you think that Sony actually is going to pull this thing off?
I mean, I would have thought bigger movies came out in October. Didn't Titanic come out this time of year or something? Maybe it was January, but that would be, if Venom is record breaking in any way, I would be astonished. But I talk to people that are really excited about Venom, and I don't even know how people have heard about Venom. But I talk to people that aren't like comic nerdy types, and they're like, oh, there's that Tom Hardy movie coming out, the Venom thing. So maybe it will. I probably won't make it that first weekend.
Adam, we also we got a poster. Do you have any thoughts on either the poster or the box office stuff?
Nah. Sweet, cool. That they put zero effort into that poster, man. Like, come on. I don't know what it was. It just, I guess it rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. It just seemed like it wasn't. Yeah, nothing special. I don't know. For the box office, I'll see it when I believe it, or I'll believe it when I see it.
or literally, you'll only see it if you see the box office returns coming that good.
Right, exactly.
I thought it was really weird. I mentioned this on Twitter. That poster, it's like the only thing at the bottom was like Tom Hardy, Venom. And it seemed odd to me that you get a actress as prestigious as Michelle Williams, and then you don't even stick her name on the poster. Like, I don't know how those decisions are made. Obviously, her name is in the like paragraph garble at the bottom. But it is very interesting to me that they bothered getting her and getting Riz Ahmed. You know, they've kind of gotten some, and Woody Harrelson, right? They've gotten relatively big, prestigious names on this thing, and yet it's almost exclusively being marketed as a Tom Hardy vehicle, which I find just a little bizarre. I figure you would flaunt your cast if you had that cast. So the Defenders had a Facebook site, I guess, for the TV show, and this week it got reapplied for a new thing on Netflix called NX or something. Like, I don't even understand what it was. It's like a sub part of Netflix, just where they're like, hey, look, all your nerd stuff is together, which I find kind of patronizing. But anyways,
hey man, they follow us on Twitter. Leave them alone.
That's true. Netflix gives us screeners. We love you. Whatever. NX forever. But by using the Defenders Facebook page for this, people are suggesting that that's a good sign that they don't plan on ever needing a Defenders social media presence again. Does that seem like from a marketing perspective, Adam, would that seem to be what it suggests to you?
I would guess that they looked through the plethora of nerd-based, I don't know, it's like the sci-fi or fantasy type hub for Netflix. And they were probably sitting there, and they probably had an abundance of these pages. And they're like, most of these shows are getting canceled. Which one has the most likes that we can use? Which I think might actually be against Facebook's terms of service. But essentially, they just kind of took over the Defenders page because it probably had the most likes.
It's totally allowed under Facebook terms of service, but Facebook alerts the followers that a page that you were following has been converted. So that's how people found out, because people started getting the alert saying you were following the Defenders and it is now in X. Which I think was a pretty genius move of them. I mean, they had a page with 500,000 followers. They must not plan to do anything with it anytime soon, and they were just like, okay, let's take these nerds and point them towards this little montage we're doing that shows our nerdy shows and Stranger Things. Like, I don't get how Stranger Things gets thrown in. I mean, I guess it's horror. I mean, it's genre. But anyway, or the kids play Dungeons and Dragons, so now Stranger Things is nerdy.
See, I'm of the opinion that Stranger Things is the best X-Men show ever made. Like, 11 is the best Jean Grey to ever be on a comic book, or ever to be on TV. Talking about Netflix, Daredevil Season 3 gave us a new promo image this week. It was a sort of red poster, looks like a little bit of New York, maybe a church. There's a cross with a dead Daredevil helmet on it, and it just says, "Let there be darkness." Rhiannon, I think you were pretty much, you're digging this, weren't you?
I think they stole my idea. I actually was in the process of doing some like little artsy things with my friend for New York Comic Con, and my idea was to do a little Matt Murdock tombstone and then put the red Daredevil mask over it. And they stole my idea. So, Netflix, get out of my head. Or just stay there. I like it that way. I'm really excited about this. I like... It's funny because I've been following the Daredevil fandom and their reaction to both that first teaser and this. Some of them are upset that things are so dark. And I want to know what Matt Murdock they saw for the first 2 seasons. What show were they watching for those first 2 seasons that they don't like a dark Daredevil show?
And again, we've been talking for 2 years that season 3 would be some version of Born Again. So what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah. Like, I actually saw a person going, I thought season 3 was going to be Born Again, and instead it's this really dark thing. And I don't know if maybe they thought Born Again, like if they went out and they found like a Southern Baptist Christian novel about being born again and thought it was about Daredevil like finding Jesus. But I don't know.
And I was saying last week on the show, I didn't always love their scripture references. Let there be darkness is such a good tagline because it's alluding to the beginning of Genesis, the creation of the world. Let there be light. And so the idea that this is setting up a season that's all going to be deconstructing and decreating the world of Daredevil, that's exciting. The thought that that could be what it's about. And so I just thought that was very clever.
Didn't you just get deep?
I did.
You guys are so edgy. Like, how do you handle being so edgy?
I love...
Now I know how to get you a flipping Hot Topic gift card.
So exciting.
Adam, do you have about 5 pieces of technology pulled out at this point? Every time
I do,
look
yes.
over, you got
Sorry.
something else.
I do, yes. I just got the 10% notification on my phone. And it's a new phone, so I don't have like the... Why the hell did they take away a headphone jack off of a phone? That doesn't make sense, does it?
It makes it waterproof.
Ooh, wait.
It looks like a freaking Circuit City over there. There's just like stuff coming out left and right. He literally has 2 sets of headphones on at this point.
I do. Yes, I do. That is accurate.
All right, let me hit the last bit of news, Rhiannon, which isn't really news. M. Raven Ratzner. I can't say that guy's name. M. Raven Metzner responded to one of your tweets this week. So apparently the psychologist from Iron Fist Season 2 is the same one from Iron Fist Season 1.
Yeah, the psychiatrist. That's actually, we were recording the Iron Fist AP Marvel podcast that everybody can listen to right now. And in it, Chris was like, I think it's the same psychiatrist as Season 1. And I couldn't find it on IMDb. Mostly because, like, you probably need to know the psychiatrist's name, or he was in 3 episodes instead of 2, or whatever. So it was just easier to tweet at Raven, and Raven confirmed. Same psychiatrist that was working with Danny Rand in the first season. Worked with Mary Walker in the second. That is news you never knew you needed.
Exactly, man. We're not just telling you news, we're making news. We're that good.
Also, if you listen to that Iron Fist podcast, I give all kinds of fake Daredevil Season 3 spoilers. So I'm confirming...
That's what you meant.
I'm confirming now that they are fake.
Did you make sure they were so fake that they're not possibly spoiling something we haven't seen so that Netflix would get suspicious that we had seen more than they gave us?
I mean, if you guys think there's going to be a long hallway sex scene with Matt and Foggy, then you're welcome to keep thinking that.
Okay. There we go. I think we're safe there.
Yeah.
Probably. All right. Let's talk about Captain Marvel. So it's a point in the show where we talk about trailers or reviews or whatever. And obviously Captain Marvel dropped just yesterday as we're recording. We've been waiting for that trailer for a long time. It was finally here. Let's start generically. What'd you guys think of the trailer? What popped out to you as you watched our first look at Carol?
Jude Law is totally a bad guy. For sure. Like, confirmed. He's a bad dude.
Yeah, I show the image at the very end where she like makes a fist in the blue and red suit. You totally can see her fighting a bad guy, and it's totally not blue skinned and it's not green skinned, and it's like a black and silver outfit that looks a little bit like a Jan Rog suit that I've seen in some of the comics. I mean, I think that's totally Jude Law right there. That's just my take.
Okay, so it's set in the 90s, right?
Apparently, very specifically, between 1997 and 1998.
How'd you find that out?
This is totally from Mr. Sunday Movies, guy from Australia. One of the subway maps has a line that opened in 1997 on it, but Blockbuster Video took video off of their awnings in 1998.
Who the hell had the time to figure that out? Give me a break.
I'm guessing he stole it from some idiots on Reddit, but
Jesus. But the only thing that really felt 90s to me was the fact that they showed Blockbuster right out of the gates. Like anything else didn't really... Like they didn't even play Alanis Morissette or any... There wasn't even a song with it. I don't know. It just didn't seem like it was... It just didn't seem like a throwback that much.
That's true. There was no Alanis Morissette. I don't know if I'm in anymore. Just no interest.
So this kind of jumps ahead to one of the questions I had written down. Rhiannon, did you feel like this had enough of a tone to it? Or did this feel a little generically superhero-y?
It felt very generically Marvel superhero-y. Yeah, it felt like we were going home. There was Blockbuster Video, there was Nick Fury, there was a little flash of Coulson. There was something about it that felt decidedly Marvel, that it was a Marvel trailer. It was an Avengers-esque trailer. But there wasn't anything that, I mean, so I only watched it once. I'm awful, you guys. I only watched it once, and I don't remember a whole lot of details other than what I've seen people talking about. Like, there was nothing that stood out for me other than the Blockbuster and Nick Fury that left me going, ooh, that, you know, it's a lady superhero, but beyond that, I didn't come away with too much.
I was surprised by the lack of humor. Like, it doesn't have to be super funny, but they usually at least put, like, a joke at the stinger or whatever.
Yeah.
And this was the first time Marvel's done a trailer in a long time that there was nothing funny in it. I mean, the Blockbuster Video made me laugh, and I think it was supposed to, but there were no verbal, like, punchlines in the whole thing. Because, like, when the trailer came out, it was about 10 minutes before I had to go in a meeting, so I sort of called a couple people into the conference room early and, you know, like, held my hand out, and we all watched the trailer together. And, like, you know, it gets to the little, like, Captain Marvel there, and I'm like, ooh, now we get the joke! And there was nothing. I felt so let down. Adam, did you feel like you got a sense of the story? I mean, I think we've talked about this a little bit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I got the whole plot figured out just by the trailer.
Give us your... Go ahead, sketch it out for us.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know why I was going to go right into it, but I stopped and I just created a really awkward silence. My bad. It's been a long week. So, Carol Danvers is in the Air Force, right? And she's in the Air Force with Marie Rambeau. That's her name, right? Marie?
I believe so.
And, of course, Carol, okay, so let's spoiler alert for today's new comic book day, right? They retconned Carol's origin this week to make her mother Kree. So that's kind of almost spoiling the movie.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, so essentially that's pretty much what they're doing with the movie. She's half Kree, and somehow maybe the Kree Skrull war is raging on or something, I don't know. And then Jude Law crashes onto Earth, and Carol happens upon the crash like we see in the trailer, and she gets blown back, and maybe that activates her Kree powers or something. Long story short, Jan Rog / Jude Law / bad guy Dumbledore, he kidnaps or takes Carol off to Hala, wipes her memory. Which Nick Fury totally finds out about and repurposes the Kree memory wipe into Tahiti to use on Coulson later. But yeah, so Jude Law wipes Carol's memories, and then Carol, maybe on a Star Force mission, makes it back to Earth and says, wait, I totally know this place. And then it ends up that, yeah, she's like, wow, you probably shouldn't have wiped my memory, Jude Law. And Jude Law's like, whatever, and they fight.
Along those lines, again, this is a detail that people shouldn't have this much time for. In that same video I was mentioning, he points out that the jets are apparently, for people who know jets, are like late 70s, early 80s model fighter jets. And so the scenes where Carol is a fighter pilot should take place about 15 years before the Blockbuster Video scene.
I thought it looked like a classic F-16E Strike Eagle, but, you know, like I said, I only watched it once.
Okay, you know your jet planes? Good gracious.
No, but I once did a project at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, and they were F-16E Strike Eagles, and that was, like, just words I could throw out.
I think the real strength of this trailer is the visuals. Was there a particular shot or something that you saw that you were excited about or surprised that we got a pic to see already in the trailers?
The fact she punches a grandma in the face. I wasn't really excited for that, but it was kind of like, oh, damn, okay. Which we kind of argued about in Slack. I mean, with the Skrulls involved, there's going to be maybe not Marge on the bus. You know, maybe this isn't going to be the comedic undertone or whatever, but there's going to be some point like Austin Powers, you know, she goes to punch someone thinking that person's a Skrull, and the person's like, ow, what the hell are you doing? I mean, that's got to happen once in the movie, right? No?
Definitely.
Maybe?
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Is the timing right that she could actually say, it's a man, baby, and it would actually be like a culturally appropriate reference for the time period?
Yes. Sorry, you guys remember the 90s. Yes, Austin Powers was out by 97, 98.
Okay.
So, yeah, she can make an Austin Powers reference. Sorry, I didn't realize that was a real question.
I didn't remember when Austin Powers came out. What were you saying, Adam?
No, we saw Ronin. It's like they almost pulled a Netflix and saying, hey, guys, we are connected to everything. Plus, they digitally de-aged Clark Gregg because it looks like they just gave him fake hair and said, hey, let's spike this up a little bit.
My trailer reaction video, I said, I didn't see Ronan or Coulson. And so like all the comments on the YouTube video were like, Coulson was there. And I'm like, I know, it's just doing those reaction videos. I'm watching the camera. I'm watching my screen. I'm trying to talk at the same time. That's actually much more difficult than you'd think it would be to record one of those. I was amazed that we got the helmet and the mohawk already. I thought that's something that they maybe would have held back for the actual movie or for a later trailer, but they just went ahead and gave. And the fact that she has, like, I think this is a first, except for, I guess, you know, Iron Man, having a helmet that has like the glossed out, like lit up eyes. Usually they go for actual eye holes in a lot of this stuff. You know, like Black Bolt. Well, Black Bolt didn't have a helmet, but you know what I'm saying. Like Cap or whoever, like, yeah.
Captain America.
But they actually gave like the lit up eyes. So that look of like her in the Kree suit with the mohawk, I thought that was all pretty rocking. I was pretty excited by that stuff.
They didn't tease a romantic subplot yet.
That's true.
Because that's my one wish. That's the one barrier Captain Marvel can break, is having a movie with no romantic subplot.
What if she falls in love with Coulson?
I was just going to say that.
Does she play the cello? So, Adam, you go, while you're plotting out the movie in your head, fit in where that romantic subplot's going to be.
I did think that already we're seeing some thematic work, like that part at the end where it shows her, like, standing up, like, as a kid, like, when she fell down on the baseball field, and, like, you know, like, there was, like, 3 or 4 shots of her getting back up after falling down, all, like, boom, 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 boom together. Like, you could already tell that the directors are kind of going that way of like she's this character that always gets back up after she falls. I thought that was kind of cool. I was surprised how much footage there was of her as a little girl. I think that they're going to go into her childhood a little bit more. Like, other than Peter Quill, do we know about the childhood of any of these characters, right? Like, that seems like a unique, interesting take that they're putting into it, so...
It's a good... We saw stuff in Thor, right? I think there was it wasn't super in-depth.
Oh, yeah, that's right, where Loki and Thor are walking through the Odin's vault or whatever, yeah.
I mean, the thing that surprised me most about the it revealed virtually nothing, I guess. They revealed that she has like memory loss, or her memory was wiped. So, I mean, I would guess that's the biggest... I mean, that's the plot of the movie, essentially, right? She tries to figure out what the heck's going on. And besides Fury and Coulson and Ronan and Rambo... Am I saying that right? Rambo?
Oh, yeah. It sounds weird by itself.
Okay.
I never thought about the name by itself as Rambo, but yeah, I believe you're right.
And I mean, Monica Rambeau is totally in the movie. She's talking to her in the trailer when she says, "I'm not what you think I am," or something like that. And it's brilliant because the timing matches up perfectly. Because if this is in between 97 and 98, and say Monica Rambeau is 10, current age she's 28 or whatever, so in Avengers 4, we could have a grown-up Spectrum. Smart. Look at them using their brains.
It's almost like this Kevin Feige guy knows what he's doing. Any other thoughts on the trailer before we move on to our main conversation?
What, Caleb, you're the box office guru. Where's this going to land? Are we talking Black Panther type money?
So it's really hard to predict these things ahead of time. If you need to see any evidence of that, go to my look at my predictions from last year for Black Panther, which were totally half of what they actually ended up being. Which is weird because, I mean, at the time, back in January when I did that column for MCU Exchange, I was on the high side. Like, all the predictions were Black Panther to make, whatever, $250, $300 million domestic. And I went on the high side of it, and then it made $700 million. So these things are hard to predict. I don't know. I'm really doubtful that it would be $1 billion movie because those don't come around very often. Black Panther really took off. People, I think, don't like it when I say things like this, but I think the international market will be interesting. Does a woman fighter pilot who works for the U.S. Air Force appeal to Chinese audiences, for example? Captain America, at least early on, and I would say to this day, Captain America movies underperform Iron Man movies, and I think in part because that America connotation is not as popular overseas because there's not the patriotic angle. Is she going to suffer from that as well? I don't know. My gut instinct is she will perform better than Ant-Man or Doctor Strange or any of the other. I would guess Guardians kind of money. That's going to be my prediction today. Is that it'll do Guardians kind of money. But it's all about the hype. If they properly tie this in, they already showed us the pager, right? Like they show.
Yeah, right. Yep.
They wanted to connect to Infinity War. If they make this feel like a vital bridge between Infinity War and Avengers 4, so that you'll feel like you're caught up with the plot. Maybe they suck another 100 or 200 million out of this thing than they would have otherwise. So, I don't know. All right, so let's move on to our main conversation, which was a news story that was so gigantic, we felt like we needed to talk about it more than just a little 5-10 minute news blurb at the beginning. Last night, was it the Hollywood Reporter, I believe, dropped...
Variety.
Okay.
Like a
Justin
legit,
Kroll.
serious trade.
Yeah. Dropped
one step above Marvel News Desk.
One step. We're biting their heels. They revealed that some of the details about what's going to go on to the Disney streaming service, which we still don't know what that's called. It's not officially been titled yet. We've called it Mouse Flicks on this show, but we knew that there was going to be some Star Wars shows, that there was going to be a $100 million 10-episode Star Wars show that was going to go on there, but we didn't really know what Marvel was supposed to be. And the news hit last night that what they're looking at is something like the following. They're going to do short series, 6 to 8 episodes long, that will focus on MCU film characters who have not gotten as much of a spotlight. Actors from the movies are expected to sign on to appear in these shows. Really big piece, Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige will be in charge of this content. And it will not involve Jeff Loeb and Marvel TV. Excuse me. The first 2 shows that they're talking about are that they're going to do a Scarlet Witch show with Elizabeth Olsen and a Loki show with Tom Hiddleston. There's a lot to uncover here. I've got some questions to kind of help guide us. First of all, do you guys think that Scarlet Witch and Loki are the right characters to start with as they look at these projects?
Yes. I mean, maybe, Scarlet Witch, we don't know much about her. I mean, I feel like I barely know her, but they've proven she had such a critical role in Infinity War. And I think people will jump on board to get to know her. But mostly, Loki, Tom Hiddleston, he has a rabid fan base. The Loki fan base is just insane. They just got a huge pile of subscribers that will pay whatever to be a part of this because they mentioned a Loki series. So from that standpoint, in general, yes. I don't feel like I need more Loki story. I feel like I've had a ton of Loki story mixed in with Thor. But then again, I will watch whatever Loki story you want to put together. As long as it doesn't involve the Hand. Loki versus the Hand, I can't take.
Ugh.
What do you think of the options they started with here, Adam?
Not bad. I anticipated Scarlet Witch being a bigger face in the movies moving forward. So I wonder if this is going to affect that at all. But Scarlet Witch miniseries is a way to bring Quicksilver back. It all depends on timeline stuff. Are these prequels to, Age of Ultron? Is this, Loki way back when? When are these set? The thing that piqued my curiosity is they said Loki, Scarlet Witch, and others. So there's definitely more than just 2 in the works. But that's not your question. I kind of have a thing to launch into when we get to that point.
Oh, we'll get there. I do think Loki is not a death that we anticipate being undone from Infinity War. Right? Like, he's dead. Yeah.
And that's kind of my general thoughts with anybody pre-snap as well. But, I think it would... it would certainly take away from Thor's quest, wouldn't it, if Loki wasn't dead? Thor thinks he's dead. But, this is... If Loki comes back to Earth and this timeline's after Avengers 4, it's kind of already something we've seen before.
It does seem that doing these as flashbacks or earlier in the timeline would help the continuity issues stay lined up better. Like we've always talked about the TV movie crossover being a problem because of the writing schedules. But if you make them flashback series, I think it's easier. I'm a little surprised because I had gotten the sense that Tom Hiddleston was kind of tired of being Loki. But, I guess there's enough money available. It does beg the obvious question, which was my next one, Adam, of we hear these 2 characters are up for shows. Who would you like to see a 6 or 8 episode miniseries about?
You guys already know the answer. Why do you guys make me answer this? You guys know what's up. We're going to get a show featuring my guy, Mark Spector. This is the only... it makes perfect sense. Does it not? The only reason he hasn't appeared... in Netflix so far is because Kevin Feige had plans for him. The only question now is, Obviously, if this is on Mouseflix, you can't have Mark Spector cutting the face off of Bushman. So, I mean, there's questions there, but they're throwing serious money at these, you know. They could make, you know, Moon Knight that Batman-esque type thing, you know, type character.
That's actually not at all what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say something about Hawkeye or Vision.
Oh, crap. I have a whole huge want list. Add Squadron Supreme, too. It's things like this. I mean, we've talked about champions before, but, I mean, is it realistic to get champions, you know, at this point? And then the whole, I mean, Tom King Vision, that's a hill I'll die on. That is one of the best comic runs ever made. And if they can adapt that, you know, it's got that. And that's the thing, too. It's not really a Netflix thing. I mean, it has to deal with death and not suicide, but I mean, people die even though they're robots. So is that still kind of fits into this Mouseflix family type? Because, I mean, Bambi's mom got shot, you know, so why can't Vin get shot or disemboweled by Victor Mancha? Spoiler alert. But yeah, that would be great. And give Hawkeye
story,
yes.
But do you think a Moon Knight story would be legit? I mean, like a Moon Knight story on that family-friendly whatever. Should Moon Knight be in that universe? Or is he too dark?
He's too dark, but I can't think of any other, unless Feige branches out and produces something for Hulu or something like that. But see, and then it always comes back to that. I mean, Vision's kind of walks that line, and I'm not sure really, you know, Fraction's Hawkeye is either super family friendly either. You know, because that kind of has some heavy stuff in it as well.
Well, it wouldn't be Fraction's Hawkeye. If it's the Renner Hawkeye, it's the Hawkeye that has a family in, Iowa?
Yeah! Hey, I know several spots you can film. Just hit me up.
I do love... I love the fact that we could talk seriously about Renner actually doing this.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like when this report said Elizabeth Olsen and Tom Hiddleston are expected to be in these, it's like, oh, okay, that's surprising. You know, like we always felt like that we would never get these series with these bigger actors because they're Hollywood types or movie people and not TV people. And so it's amazing to me that they're going to get them excited about doing something like this.
I mean, the only person I can't really see doing it's like RDJ. And hell, maybe even then they would get him as cameos or something. I mean, I could see dudes like Chris Evans doing it. Maybe. Oh, with the restaurant picture, he also shaved off his mustache. You see that? So we won't have Mustache Gate for Avengers 4 reshoots.
Yeah, his douchebag play is over, so he doesn't need the mustache anymore. He was playing a douchebag or something. I mean, Evans, I get that part of the reason Evans is kind of... He's not saying he's done with it, but I think for him, any of the characters that involve a massive amount of muscles, there's a lot that goes into recording. You know, like, you can't just pop in and have a Captain America cameo without him bulking up a little.
Well, it's kind of like Hugh Jackman. When he was done with Wolverine, part of the reason he wanted to be done is so he could eat something other than, like, chicken cutlets, you know, and, like, egg whites for the rest of his life, so...
Exactly. And I'm wondering, I mean, maybe I've just, like, projected that from Hugh Jackman onto Chris Evans, but I kind of get the feeling that maybe that's what he might be headed towards.
Yeah, and I don't know, this may be controversial. I have always wondered if there is any degree of chemical aid going on with helping some of those guys get so jacked. And that if maybe... I mean, I don't know, it wouldn't be illegal for them, I wouldn't think. You know, like... and if so, those are things that can really take a toll on your body after a while. So... maybe that's not right. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm not saying Marvel does that. I'm just saying it would not surprise me if, at the very least, there was some low-end performance enhancers being used to help these guys get some buff. And that's not something you want in your body forever.
Wait until... you forgot to put this in your announcements. Your doping expose drops later this week. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh.
That was a joke, by the way.
Yeah. Someone's like, where is it? I'm waiting for it. Let's see. What else was I going to ask about this? Okay, so let's talk for a minute about the saddest man in the room on this. What does this say for Jeff Loeb and Marvel TV?
Not
that
good.
This is not going through him.
You should not have any hope whatsoever to see Netflix characters in movies anytime soon. Because instead of... Kevin Feige would rather take his characters he has now and make TV shows for them than crossing over already existing characters. So, I mean, at least to me, I don't think this looks good for any Defenders crossovers or Shield crossovers anytime soon. Plus, I mean, if he's producing it, he doesn't have to go through, doesn't have to work with Jeff. He doesn't have to go through Perlmutter or any of that. You know, with this, doesn't he? I mean, he reports directly to Bob Iger, right? And Bob Iger's been on record numerous times saying that this streaming service is the biggest thing Disney's doing over the next few years.
Well, that's okay. Jeff has his lady show on ABC. And his other lady show on ABC. And New Warriors.
Jeff is busy with that show. Yeah, I mean, I think along those lines, Adam, you're right that we have heard that Disney is putting a lot of their eggs in the streaming basket. This confirms that that's legit and it's serious. Like, if they're putting out, we heard $25-30 million for some of the movies they're going to be making on there. They're getting some of their big actors. They're getting Kevin Feige to overlook these Marvel shows. That suggests that they really do see this as a legitimate future, and it suggests to me that we could see a day where this becomes as important of an outlet for Marvel as the movies. Because, I mean, we love the TV shows. We're not trying to poop on the TV shows, right? But in the end, we all know that Daredevil and Luke Cage and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Runaways, as much as we enjoy those shows, or Cloak and Dagger, those are not main drivers for the main thrust of the universe. They don't change the status quo. If anything, they reference the changes that happen in the movies. But I think this Disney streaming thing could get to the place where it drives the universe as much as the films do. And that's going to be a massive, titanic shift for the universe.
So that kind of segued into a question I have. Do you think, with such a huge focus on this streaming service, do you think that they will get to a point that they introduce someone on the streaming service and use afterwards in movies? Or do you only think it's going to go from movies to streaming service? I mean, I would guess immediately that's the case, at least.
I think side characters might definitely... You know, I could see like a Korg showing up on the streaming service and then showing up in a movie. I mean, though I'm all for the Korg series. Give us the revolution. But a main character? You think like they would introduce like a Captain Marvel, Black Panther level character?
I don't know. I mean, what about like a Miss Marvel? I was thinking more kind of that level, like a Miss Marvel or a Sam Alexander or Richard Rider even. Or what the hell, is New Warriors being produced by Kevin Feige now? I mean, it almost seems like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think, let me put it this way. What I think is very possible is that a character will be introduced on a streaming service show that will then appear in an Avengers movie. I'm not sure if they'll go from like having their own show to then having a solo movie, but you know, like let me try to get something off the what's the name of the old lady who's sometimes in Scarlet Witch stuff? Agatha. Who am I thinking of, Adam?
No idea. I know who you're talking about, but I don't know. I have an idea, but I don't.
She was like the adoptive mother for Scarlet Witch when Magneto like abandoned them. Agatha Christie is the only thing I can come up with. But anyways, I could see her as like a side character being introduced in a Scarlet Witch show, and then her having a role in an Avengers movie on the big screen. Like that seems totally possible to me. So,
are we? I mean, it's going to be awesome when they introduce Magneto, isn't it? I mean, because we don't know anything about their past. We don't really know anything about them. You know, we know that they were tested on and stuff, but they can do some cool stuff with that. That's a sidebar, but
Agatha Harkness is the name I was looking for. So, now it does seem. This is reading between the lines. You guys can tell me if you're the same place. It does not feel like these are going to be TV shows in the traditional sense, and that I would expect a season 2 and a season 3 and a season 4. It feels like it'll be a one-off where they give Tom Hiddleston $10 million to make 6 episodes, and then that will be standalone, and we probably won't return to it, right?
Well, oh yeah, I'm in totally agreement. Because what if I would guess they're probably hour-long episodes?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, if there's 6 one-hour episodes, that's a trilogy right there, you know?
There are no rules. I mean, if they're prequels, if they're filling in the gaps, if they're going back and giving us earlier stuff, you can have a very good start and end to the story. And if you want a sequel, go watch Thor. Or if you want a sequel, go watch Ultron. Hawkeye doesn't really have a good role in anything, but that's why we need a Hawkeye series.
Yes.
His life and times in New York City with Pizza Dog before he got married and moved to Iowa.
And Iowa has film tax credits now. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, that was just a big deal a year or two ago. Just saying.
Just bringing this back around, I mean, Rhiannon, does this make you feel like your Netflix universe is going to be ever more separated? Like, to me, this widens the gap between Marvel Studios MCU and Marvel TV MCU. Does it feel that way to you?
I think it either widens the gap or it very much narrows it. Like, there is something, and I can't describe why, I can't explain, but there is something about this that feels like, oh, you know, they're going to have... I mean, like, Loki, they do a Loki, whatever, he'll be off in Asgard or wherever. You know, like, a Loki prequel won't even take place on Earth, so whatever. And Scarlet Witch won't even, you know, she could take place all over. I'm just trying to think where she's from, but I know it's not New York City. You know,
Wongalore. Isn't that a mythical place she hangs out in, Adam? Wongalore?
Wongalore? Anyways.
Man, you're assuming I know stuff. I'm
right,
just some
going.
guy.
Sorry.
But anyways, she could, I mean, if you have a character, and that's why I jumped straight to Hawkeye, because, like, in the comics, he lives in New York once he's an Avenger, at least. Yeah, I feel like if you got into a series and it made sense, to me, I cannot imagine a series in New York City that does not, unless it's a prequel thing, you know, if it takes place before Matt Murdock put on his black pajamas. I cannot imagine a series being in New York City and not intersecting with the Netflix world. I can't imagine a series where S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't, you know, well, I mean, we already have it. We have the superpowers and the shields aren't coming for him. But I can't imagine to myself, I've been saying that we've had the movies touch base in New York. They just haven't stayed long enough for the Netflix world to intersect. But even if it's not Daredevil showing up in a series with, Jeremy Renner or with Chris Evans or something, I can't imagine them being in New York City and not throwing in a reference to Turk Barrett or not touching base on something in that universe, having a Brett Mahoney or having Foggy pop up as an attorney or Jerry Hogarth or something like that. But that's just me dreaming, and, if you give me enough time in a series in New York, I think they have to cross over.
So, I looked it up. What I was thinking of, the High Evolutionary is from Mount Wundagore. And he creates this, cow woman who raised Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. So, that is the random thing I was thinking of. How does Kevin Feige have time to do this? Because what we're hearing now is he's going to continue to be over the film stuff, which right now is 3 movies a year. He's then going to add the X-Men and Fantastic Four stuff to his catalog, which we've talked about. Are they going to have to expand their output or not? And then now he's also going to be overseeing 2, 3, 4, 5, we don't know, 6 to 8 episode miniseries on, Marvel Studios produced for the streaming service. At some point, Kevin Feige runs out of time to do these things, doesn't he?
Well, no, at some point he just finds more people to delegate.
Yeah. I mean, what's his schedule? I mean, let's take Captain Marvel. What's his schedule like? He's not sitting on set all day, every day, is he?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I mean, what's his... Does he reads the scripts and he probably plots everything out, but I mean, maybe he does set visits every so often, but I would guess he has time to do all this stuff. And you did bring up a good point. I mean, they're going to have their hands on a little First Family and X-Men action. Is there any way one of those actually debut on Mouseflix instead of a movie first?
Yeah, or I think you could also take we've talked about the Multiple Man movie that James Franco was working on, and how that seemed like a long shot for the movies. A 6-episode James Franco Multiple Man series on Marvel streaming or Disney streaming. Okay, that sounds realistic. Sign me up for that.
And that's where a lot of this. I mean, now I hate that they're doing a Black Widow movie, if they really are. Maybe I would be happiest at this point if they came out and they said, oh yeah, all those rumors about a Black Widow movie, that's going to be one of these miniseries. So maybe there'll be less movies, but there'll be this, and it'll take a little less off his plate, or open up a little bit more of that world for, room for something fantastic in the movies.
That's no. I mean, this move also pretty much confirms that if there's a Marvel property on Mouseflix that's live action, it's MCU, right?
Yeah, I would think so for sure. I mean, because Marvel Studios is producing it.
Well, I'm saying, what happens if New Warriors is still Marvel TV and lands on it? I don't know. I mean, what's the MCU even mean nowadays? But,
yeah,
sorry,
Cloak and Dagger to me is the perfect test case. It's in the MCU. They name dropped the Rands and the Starks, right? But I mean, it doesn't make any practical difference, to the show. So it does make me think about all sorts of financial and business stuff. Like you said, Rhiannon, about Black Widow maybe being turned into one of these miniseries. At that point, I think it's like the accountants are getting out with their abacus, and it's like, well, if we put it on the streaming service, we can assume that X percentage increase in subscribers, which would be worth so many dollars, but the box office receipts would be worth so many. They're totally weighing which of those ways makes them more cash, you would think.
Add that character to our cast, by the way. Marvel Studios accountant.
If I carry the 0 and I divide by the coefficient of... That's the most mathematical sounding thing I could come up with. I'm sorry.
I was just like the coefficient of... anyways. But Disney didn't get where they are by making decisions that way. I mean, Disney did not get to be Disney by making decisions purely for financial gain. So that's where I think there is always going to be room for creators, especially somebody with Feige's reach and Feige's vision, to say, no, this needs to be a movie. This story is best told in 2 hours in the theater on the big screen. This story would be great, on streaming. Well, and that's where, like, the Black Widow story, like, whatever she went through, the drama of training a spy and all of that, I'd like to see that over 6 episodes. But when you say a 2-hour movie, I'm like, oh, okay, so you have to have your obligatory dramatic fight and the, I'm sure there'd be a love interest, because there has to be a love interest, and, I don't know. I like the idea of it more as a series.
I'm trying to remind myself that if it is a movie, it still helps the streaming service, right? Because it does the box office numbers, and then it drives subscribers 6 months later when it hits on the streaming service. So,
remind Dr. Abacus.
Ah, yes, very good point.
Is the streaming service someplace where one James Gunn could land?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think Disney really doesn't like him
so?
around. I don't know.
So we don't think that he's Feige's assistant that's working on continuity?
I mean, Metzner did say he called, like we talked last night, he called Marvel Studios or whatever, and there's that one person that approves continuity things. What happens if he called and the person on the other line says, Marvel Studios, this is James?
I don't know.
Sokovia?
I'm
sure.
fascinated. I want James Gunn to get back on Twitter. Like, I'm amazed that he's not back on Twitter yet. Like, at some point he's going to talk about this crap, right? Like,
yeah, I wonder if I was thinking that today. I wonder if there's litigation going on, or why it's completely mum and silent. I would guess they're ironing out something, right? Is there like an exit clause or something of that nature? Or
if I was James, I would be setting up a pseudonym as Jimmy Pistol and having my agent shop me around to movies under that name.
I mean, people have talked about this. His next move is to do a DC movie, right? Like, there would be no sweeter revenge than a James Gunn Green Lantern movie that makes $800 million, right? Like, that's the way to go forward.
Yeah. I say it's that, or, I mean, the Russo brothers are starting their own studio, and Marcus and McFeely are already following them there, and I think that's a great place for Gunn to land. How did we get back to Gunn?
Adam just had to talk about it.
I mean, I think it's safe to say, probably the next 5 James Gunn movies are probably going to be headlining Dave Bautista at this point.
I've asked all the questions that I was going to ask. I mean, generically, I know this really pumps me up about the streaming service, because this tells me that they're not going to go cheap. They are not going to halfway, like, this is something that they're really super committed to, and that's really important to them. And so for me, I find this to be very exciting news.
I do too. When I was in San Diego, I actually went to the offsite that DC had for their streaming service. And, they were featuring all the new shows that were going to be there, and they had all kinds of stuff, about what was going to make that different. And learn, like, I don't give a flip about DC, you guys. I got excited. I was ready to just sign up for that DC service right there and then. And I had been thinking, I was like, DC is going to just win this game. if Marvel doesn't do something soon to step up. And I think last night they stepped up.
Yeah, no, because this is way more exciting than like that Titans bizarre thing. Like, I haven't been, like the trailer to that Titan show doesn't sound half as interesting as a Scarlet Witch 6-hour show made by Kevin Feige to me. So
sign me up. Sign me up. And like on Iger's conference call that one day, he said pricing's going to be like competitive with Netflix and Hulu, and for $9.99 a month or whatever for like this quality of content, it's a no-brainer. It's crazy. So I will be interested to see what they do. I mean, DC Universe is pretty cool. They're doing the original content, plus they're doing like retro programming, and they have the Marvel Unlimited kind of component to it. So I mean, if they combine like Marvel Unlimited with Disney streaming, it's game over.
I do think, and this is not totally my original idea, this is also really good news for people like Louis D'Esposito and Nathan Moore and Victoria Alonso. Like you said, Rhiannon, we said, how does Feige have the time? These other producers that have been hovering around and helping with Marvel stuff, I think they all just got bigger job titles. And it would not surprise me if all of them are going to have some great opportunities coming their way.
Definitely. I think this would have been great if Gunn were still around for him to do something.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to our mailbag. A couple different things came in this week from the website. Dave was saying that he wants Luke Cage Season 3 to be Luke and Kingpin in a gang war against each other, which I thought sounded like a very fascinating idea. I do think that, and this is not saying anything, we'll have to see what happens in Daredevil Season 3. We know that Fisk has signed on for that season, and so whatever happens there, I think, would affect that possibility. He also said he'd like to see Shadowlands as a Defender Season 2. We talked about how we don't think Defender Season 2 is happening, but I don't know. There's too much hand in that for me to be too excited about that idea. So
Shadowlands should have been Defenders Season 1, so they missed the boat.
Love Waffle was saying about Iron Fist, he'd like to see Misty get the Iron Fist just so that we could have her bionic arm also channel the Iron Fist power. I thought that was kind of fun. On Twitter, Michael T. Ford talked about how he was thinking that they really were going to bring out the bigger guns for Mouseflix, and this kind of proves it. He also was talking about some of the things we talked about with Captain Marvel's memory loss storyline. He also just jumped in the live stream just a few minutes ago, and he was talking about still wanting to see Marvel one-shots on Mouseflix, which I still like to see as well. And he also pitched an idea for the ABC show, which I kind of like. The idea of like a West Coast Avengers, which would be a offbeat Grey's Anatomy style show with a team based in Hollywood, maybe with Mockingbird and Wonder Man as the leads. So I don't know. Get Nathan Fillion in to do a Wonder Man show on ABC. I feel like that could actually maybe work. So that sounds like a good idea to me. Yeah, we've been getting some comments on the different videos, so we appreciate everybody who likes those and leaves comments. The more you interact with stuff on YouTube, I think it helps people see it, so we really appreciate you doing that. I did have one final story before we wrap. So I went to a party Friday night, and I saw a guy that I haven't seen for like 2 or 3 years. And he comes in and he goes, "Oh, hey, do you make a podcast?" And I was like, yes, why? He's like, "Oh, I like to keep up with like movie news and stuff, and I saw somebody like link a podcast on Reddit, and I started listening to it, and I was like, wait a minute, I know that guy's voice, it's Caleb." And so I have now had the first person in my life that I actually know in real life who has discovered the podcast not by me telling them to listen to it, which was really kind of weird and bizarro. So it was nice.
Wait till you get to Comic-Con and everybody knows you,
man.
man.
Everybody knows it. We're going to be so popular at our big party. Did get this question from Michael T. Ford. Next week is The Gifted. Have you guys caught up, or are you caught up as much as you're going to catch up, or...
I've been making real progress. I might make it through all of season 1 by next week, but I don't know when I'll watch. I don't even know where it streams. I don't know what time it comes on. I'll have to do some Gifted research to be able to speak knowledgeably about The Gifted.
Is there a dragon?
No, there's no dragons. Thanks for listening to the podcast. You guys can interact with us a lot of ways. Just messages on Twitter at marvelnewsdesk.com, at Marvel News Desk. You can also communicate with us via our marvelnewsdesk.com post each week. If you want to support the show, give us $1 a month over at patreon.com/marvelnewsdesk. You'll get access to our special MCU film ranking episode, which is available only to our Patreon supporters. And you also get early access to videos like the Gifted video that is now up on Patreon and will hit the rest of you very soon. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/marvelnewsdesk or subscribe to the YouTube channel at watch.marvelnewsdesk.com. You can help the show be more visible if you want to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Number one most important thing, though, is you listen every week and you tell your friends, and we're very appreciative of that. We want to thank Tim V. Cox for our logo. You can find him on Instagram at Tim V. Cox. Also, thanks to Alvin for our theme music, including the special theme music I added to our episode last week. You can find him on a variety of social media platforms at the Skull School. We'll be back next week, maybe talking about The Gifted, maybe not. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.